the debt myth and why cash flow is queen. I always say if cash is king, then us queens get the cash flow. I am in a 4-part interview with Jim Oliver, a dear friend, managed over $700 million on Wall Street, changed to Main Street, realizing that business owners and real estate is where your money is. How you use debt is strategic to accelerating your wealth plan. Let's listen in to Jim and I on the second of a 4-part series in this interview. The other one, too, I want to add to the save until you die principle is let's talk about the lie of you must be debt free and then you get to start. And we're not going to name the authors who tell that lie, but like be debt free, pay your house off in 15 years instead of 30 years. And it's 2 or 3, maybe even 4 or 5% money when you can make 15 or 20%. I scream it across my YouTube channel. Debt is the cost of money. Go get some. You know how much money you can get if you actually sort it out at 0% for a very long time? And you can so much money. Like I was challenging somebody the other day. I said, who cares if you're $1 million in debt if you're paying sub 5% on it? If you're making millions on it. I mean, it's fascinating, this get out of debt and then I can begin my game.
I love that too, because again, a lie that we were told is that we should be debt free. Debt's bad, right? But I had a friend who's a realtor, okay? He called me the other day and he said, hey, I've got this great opportunity. And I said, yeah, I don't know if I want to really move. And, right now interest rates are kind of high. I mean, like I'm not in a relationship. So I know that when I meet the right woman, she's going to want her own house in the way that she wants it. And again, Loral, I think the house is the woman's, right? Like as long as I got a big TV somewhere in some room that I can watch sports and whatever, I'm good, right? I don't want to cook anything in the kitchen. If she doesn't either, fine. We don't need that.
I got to tell you, this is funny. So one of my dearest friends, she made up this saying and I kind of adopted it. Yeah. I only have a kitchen because it came with the house.
I love that. I just need the refrigerator. So when I think about that, I said to him, he goes, well, why wouldn't you just pay cash? I said, why would I pay cash for a liability? Yeah. And he said, well, you and I think about that differently. And I'm thinking, oh, that's why you're a realtor and not a real estate investor, because you don't understand the cost of money. If I can go out and get money at 4 or 5%, I'll do that all day long, as much as, like you said, they'll give me, because I know where I can go get 25% cash on cash all day long. So I say that to people like this, Loral, if I would loan you $100 million today and your only obligation to me was 1 year from today, you got to pay me $5 million of interest. Would you take the loan? And I know you would. Let's reverse that, because here's what I'm going to do. And I'll just give you an easy example. And by the way, if you want to loan me $100 million, we can talk after the show. So you're going to loan me $100 million. I'm going to take your $100 million and I'm going to go to the seller and I'm going to buy $500 million worth of real estate. Right? And I'm going to get 25% cash on cash. And if you're brand new to real estate, you're going to say, Jim, that's too high. No, it's not. People that are really good at real estate tell me it's too low. They're around 40% cash on cash. Okay. Lots of stuff that we can do to earn 25% cash on cash. So I'm going to earn 25 million over the next year. I'm going to call you and I'm going to say, hey, Loral, I've got your $5 million check. I'd love to fly out, see you, take you to dinner and give you your check. I give you the check at the end of the night. You say, hey, Jim, do you want to pay any principal? And I say, no, see you next year. Right? Because if I could get that interest only loan like that, I'll take all the money that you'll give me. And the bank can't freeze it. The market can't crash. I mean, if I buy real estate, the market might crash. The value of the real estate might go down, but the rent's not going down. I mean, show me where the rent's going down. Right? And the IRS can't tax it away because I'm going to depreciate the crap out of that.
Especially now.
Right? Especially now. And so saving money and doing all that, it's just slavery with a shinier chain. It's just look at your shiny chain. I mean, don't you feel good? Golden handcuffs and businesses. The IRS invented handcuffs and chains.
I would say overpaying the IRS. I'm going to go get down this track of and playing with money and the lie of money. Any of the overage of tax that you have to pay is an invisible pain. So, I get a lot of clients that come because I have some of the best tax teams that we've trained up, millionaire maker style, in this conversation that we're having, and the use of money. And I have one gentleman who he's a gas and oil tax expert. So last year we get to the end of the year and a lot of the multimillionaires, didn't have enough cash or cash flow. And I said, well, then take out a 0% loan. There's plenty of banks who will give you 0%. And even if it comes in the form of, whether it's a card, a line of credit, however it comes, doesn't matter. I said, would you rather pay your 80 something thousand in taxes or go take out, I think it was 128 they need to invest in gas and oil, and it will put you into a loss carry forward. It was like talking to a wall, not understanding. So, went back through, said, I would rather have you 128. I would personally go at $128,000 of debt, right? I don't care what, even if it was 5%, to wipe out my entire tax bill. Because now, yes, I have some debt I have to pay, but I've got an asset called gas and oil that is going to depreciate for years to come and cash flow at the same time. And I'll get rid of the debt slowly, if I even need to get rid of it. So speak kind of to that, as well, because it's so fascinating to get people to use money in debt. And I said, well, then pay 82 to the government, which you're never going to get it back. Nothing. It's fascinating how people can't see it.
November of last year, and I've done this for a few years, but last year I remember the numbers, is I'm talking to my tax team and I put $500,000 in exactly what you're talking about. And then April, I don't do my taxes in April, but when we filed an extension, they said, you're not going to owe anything, right? Now, just like you said, I have this asset and I don't have to pay the government. And so we think about it the wrong way. When you think about Elon Musk, right, and how he structures his compensation, he structures his compensation in stock options, right? And the reason is that he's got billions and billions and billions of dollars of stock options. If he needs some money, he can go to any bank in the world for cheap and get $1 billion line of credit, or just get $1 billion, pay the interest. It's way less than his taxes are going to be. This is going to be the divide, Loral. It's going to be people that are smart about this stuff and people that are dumb about this stuff. That's the next big divide. You have to educate yourself. You have to work with people like Loral. You got to work with the right tax team, because you have to not be in the herd. The herd is save your money, scarcity, 12% in Wall Street, which is a total lie. And the people that are advocating that we won't mention their names, they've made all their money in businesses and real estate. Real estate is really where he made most of his money. But he tells you, because you're stupider than him, you're not going to be as successful as him in his mind. He's arrogant. He's the elite, right? He's telling you to go do what a slave should do. We're all financial slaves unless you free yourself.
What do you tell, and I'm going to pick on women because I am one. I always say God put me in a woman's body because I speak more dominant. It's like, come on, wake up. But I don't know how many people, and mostly men, will find me on YouTube or the internet or whatever with my tax ad, because we boast a pretty big promise, because I've helped train them. They're amazing. And we don't, our tax team, most of them have masters in accounting. They got the 4 licenses. Not now. When you become a CPA now, you have to do one of every category. So my son was one of the last grandfathered into that. You take the 4 exams. So that's all changed. And most CPAs, as you know, are historians. You hand them your box of stuff and they'll tell you what your bill is and you just pay it. And then when you get a refund, you're super excited. It's like, that is the worst planning strategy. You shouldn't ever. And then paying quarterly, all that. None of us do that, by the way, all of you listen. What's fascinating is that the man usually will say yes. And then, I say both ways, because I have a lot of women that find me too. But then their spouse says, oh, we absolutely can't do this. So it's usually the person that's the least educated, most fear-driven, knows nothing, controlling the family money. What do you say to that? How do you speak to that? Because I just want another perspective. I know how I speak to it, but it's fascinating to me.
I acknowledge that it's emotional, right? So, most women, or a lot of women, are the emotional intelligence in the relationship, right? And so they feel like their job is to make everyone emotionally intact. So it's like, hey, if something happens to me, don't pay off the house. No, I'm paying off the house. That's what the wife would say, right? Like, if something happens, I'm paying off this house. I want this house debt free. But they're not thinking of it logically. They're thinking of it emotionally. And as long as they acknowledge that, it's okay. You can make an emotional decision with your money. It's better to know what you're doing, right? If you know what's happening, you'll know what to do. Now, they may change their mind, but the emotional thing, when I would do estate planning, when I was a financial babysitter, it was always the wife that thought they were going to run out of money. And I remember, this is in the early 90s, these guys, they didn't have $25 million net worth. They had $25 million cash. cash.
So a lot to talk about. We have health and wealth in this conversation, so take notes. Make sure you're here 5 days a week. Click that notification button and subscribe. Clearly, share it with 5 or 10 people and share this interview. I think a lot of you are going to get an absolute surprise out of some of the lies that you have been living and breathing. If you have any questions during this interview or in general, just go to askloral.com, ASKLORAL, ask a question, make a request. We'll be back tomorrow.